Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Okay, what do we have for you on today's episode? I have you one clip to watch, quite a long one, about 5 minutes. So I'll keep my interruptions to a reasonable, appropriate minimum. However, I do want to show you this clip because it highlights that deep down, the woke types, they know that they're doing wrong. They do. And this is why leftists project so much, because they know what they're doing is actively harming society, and they know that deep down they want to harm society. Yeah, I've often said that leftists are a bit like viruses, because they are the alphabet types and so on and so on. They're allies, and they've bought into this. For example, the climate stuff, human overpopulation stuff. You name it, any narrative they've gone through. Have you noticed that the left, they fall for the narrative on any subject all of the time? So they don't really have kids of their own. So to reproduce, and by that I mean to convert people to their ideology, they have to do what viruses do, in that they need your ability to replicate themselves. Yeah, they need to hijack your family. Right. To do that, what I'm talking about, of course, is your kids and the education system. So Portland has they've just gone even more woke. This clip, what I'm going to show you, is going to highlight some of the things that they are teaching your children in public schools. But the best part is, once the light was shone on this, they quickly went around on the website purging all of the information. Right? What does that show you? Right, it shows you that they're up to no good, right? And it goes over this in this clip. So we'll get into it now. If you haven't yet though, please like the video, subscribe to the Hoggcast, hit the notification bell, and share the video around. You can also become a member. There's a join button next to the sub button. You can become a member if you so choose. I have 8 amazing, beautiful members who do honour and humble me that they've become a member of the Hoggcast in our quiet little corner of the internet. Okay, let's go.
That white people can do, or actually any human being on the planet could do right now, is to just say, of course I'm racist. Of course I'm racist. Our society speaks racism. It has spoken racism since...
This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is pure projection. This is a very spiteful person who's trying to project her isms and ists, her prejudiced being, right? Because she's prejudiced down to her bones. She can't admit that, so instead, to make herself feel better, she just says, well, it's you, right? So anything she does to you is therefore justified, right?
We were born.
Well, it seems that Portland kindergarten teachers took that to heart, because new teaching materials that are obtained exclusively by Chris Rufo expose how race has now infected the already sexually obsessed curriculum that's inside the Portland public schools. Now, I want to show you just a couple of the...
I mean, look at this. LGBTQIA2S+. They just keep adding letters and numbers and everything. Soon as there's going to be more numbers and letters in this than there is numbers and letters. So, I mean, look, they're already starting to add symbols. So this is education for very young children, yeah, yours, not theirs, because they don't have any. So the whole big long chain of letters and numbers and symbols. People have experienced oppression in the United States since colonization, when white people arrive in North America. So the phrasing here is white bad, but you knew that anyway. So it continues how systems were used to try and erase these people. Well, what does that mean, erase them? Right? So they're just making things up. In the 1960s, police would arrest the alphabet people who were gathering in spaces together to try and stop them from being themselves. Yeah, but being yourself seems to lead to this, right? The police would get violent and would come back night after night.
These slides. One suggests that even the word trans can be racist, as it is the language preferred by the colonizers. And
It's the language you use yourself. I mean, come on. There's no reasoning with these people, none.
Said they recommend adding something called two spirits to be exclusively indigenous. And if that isn't bad enough, one of their slides glamorizes the act of rioting as an acceptable reaction to anything perceived to be white colonization. Here now is Chris Rufo, Manhattan.
Let me tell you the dangers of what these people are doing, yeah, and you probably know this already. They are setting up, you know when I say the G word, yeah, the big G word, which, for example, I can't use the word on YouTube, but I hope you know what I mean. What the Germans in the 1940s did to the Jewish community, you understand what I mean, in the camps. The G word. They are setting you and your family up for that, right? They are framing you as, they're dehumanizing you and your families, yeah, that's the intent. Now, the inevitable consequences of that are already being seen on both sides of the pond, yeah. For example, look what happens when a police officers unfortunately end the life of a criminal who was either resisting arrest or was actively trying to shoot back at them or to shoot at them, yeah. If that person is a POC, there's riots or hell break loose. If that person's white, which believe it or not most of them are, nothing, because you aren't seen as a human being. You aren't seen as a person worth standing up for. Yeah, it's the same with your children. Over here we have problems with grooming gangs, Muslim men who target young girls from the white working class community. Nobody even does it. On the contrary, if you say anything about it, you will get targeted yourself. Yeah. You aren't seen as human. Your children aren't seen as human, right? So people can just do what they want to you. And it's not only us that are noticing that, they're noticing it themselves.
Institute Senior Fellow. Chris, so now gender is colonized, and I don't really even understand the trans thing at all. I'm not following that. But what the heck is going on here? Kids as young as 5?
Yeah, exactly. So what's happening is that Portland Public Schools has taken academic queer theory and turned it into a K-5 pedagogy. They're teaching kids that some boys can have vaginas, some girls can have penises.
It's witchcraft, isn't it? We've just reached that point where it's gobbledygook. It's medieval witchcraft.
They're encouraging them to adopt synthetic sexual identities such as genderqueer, non-binary, and pansexual. And then they're telling kids that this is part of a political movement. It was critical race theory last year, it's queer theory this year. You have to get on board, you have to reshape your identity according to this ideology. And then by the end of 5th grade, they actually have them reading out commitments to commit their lives to radical left-wing activism.
It's a religion. It is a cult, an actual cult. Yeah, again, more projection from the left. You know, it's how they call Trump supporters. People who actually think for themselves and don't align with this rubbish as being in a cult. It is all leftist projection. Yeah, this cult-like behaviour. This is essentially them trying to get the kids to swear allegiance to their radical ideology. All of these leftists need is a tattoo on their foreheads. It is all they're missing. Legions of people dressed in rags, drool dangling out their mouth with like the chaotic symbol on their forehead. That's all they need. That's all these people need.
By the ages of 10 and 11 years old.
Now, in this slide, the Portland public education system trying to demonize the idea of gender altogether, saying that gender is something that adults came up with to sort people into groups. Now,
well, if that's true, if male and female is something that adults came up with, tell me, how come that you get male and female fish, snakes, crocodiles, bears, anything that involves sexual reproduction, yeah, is going to involve a male and a female, right? That's just an objective fact. But don't let that get in the way of these people.
Chris, they're trying to erase the idea of the two sexes. Like, this is binary completely. That's way out the window.
Exactly, and the best way to think of this is critical race theory divides the world into racial groups and saying that they're fundamentally against each other, oppressing one another. They're trying to do the same thing with sex, saying that white heterosexual men have always oppressed racial and sexual minorities. It's the same kind of basic Marxist theory now applied to both race and gender. It's happening.
And the thing is, society has been warned about, right? As on the right, we've been trying to warn society what this is doing and the inevitable result, what it will be, yeah. And I do believe that people are starting to wake up and listen, but there's still a lot of people out there who just don't know. They're not. They just think they think that these people have their best interests at heart when they really don't, right? They really don't.
Happening in Portland, it's happening all over this country in our K through 12 public schools.
Now, this next slide you obtained, I think, is the most disturbing, describing gender dysphoria. It says, if a kid is still figuring out I love that, their gender and needs time to figure out what body parts, shapes, and expressions they want, they can take hormone blockers that cause puberty and give them pause puberty and give them time to figure out who they are.
Sick. And these are educators. These are the people who you entrust your children to. Oh, we'll just give them puberty blockers. Sick. If this is Joseph Mengele stuff, these people are in the same bracket as Joseph Mengele, yeah? It's just disgusting, isn't it? They are carrying out their experiments on your children, not theirs, because they don't have any. I think they look at children, because they don't have any, I think they look at children as just small adults. That's what I think they think children are, right? Just easily led ones, like easy to manipulate. That's why they have such a fascination with them.
So, Chris, they're pushing the idea of medically altering your body on little kids. That's what could go wrong there?
These are our 4th and 5th graders, and they're telling them they can start puberty blockers, they can get double mastectomies for the girls, they can adopt these synthetic sexual identities such as trans and non-binary, and doing all of this without notifying parents. Everyone should be on guard for this ideology in the schools, because it's coming to a school near you.
Now, I know Portland is a liberal place, but do most parents and immigrant parents, is this what they want for their kids?
Of course not. Of course not. But most of them don't know it's happening, and those that do are either too scared to say anything. And don't get me wrong, there is going to be some leftist parents who are all for this. But do you know what I think? I think those leftist parents, few in number that they are, I think that even they, deep down, they have concerns. But being left-wing people generally are very docile, sheep-like people. So I think they just go along with it through fear of upsetting the cult. Yeah, for example, imagine if you lived in Portland, yeah, and you were surrounded by that type of people. What do you think would happen if you spoke out of turn? They would all descend on you, right? You would be expelled from the cult, yeah?
It's absolutely not. It's deeply unpopular. And actually, just minutes ago, after I broke this story, the administrators at Portland Public Schools started furiously deleting all of these documents from their websites.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like when you pull a rock back and all the worms just go shoo, they all scatter, all of the little bugs. Sunlight, to leftism, sunlight is the best disinfectant, because leftism can only spread like corruption when, 1, it's not being observed, and 2, when nobody does anything about it, right? And that's why they slowly creep and spread out, yeah? It just shows you deep down they know that they're on the wrong side of history. They know it, but they don't want that to be the case. They want what they want, and that's that. And if society disagrees with them, if society disagrees with them, they'll just pull down society. If parents disagree with them, they'll just label them as domestic T-words. Yeah. From
the internet, because they can only do this in secrecy. They can only do this by hiding it from parents, by hiding it from the public. But when we shine a light on it, when parents show up at those school board meetings and start to make their voices heard, these ideologies shrink and crumble because they can't stand the light of day.
Yep.
They're evil, they're harming kids, and parents have to stand up and fight back to make sure that no more lives are ruined.
And that has to happen. Have you noticed that with the mainstream media and big tech? Have you noticed that you never hear about the people who transitioned, were encouraged all along the way to transition, and now that they're reaching early adulthood, they begin to regret it? You have to read it. Surprisingly enough, I'm not sure if it's still there anymore, but on Reddit there was a subreddit for people who had detransitioned, and listening to some of the horror stories that they went through, because you know when they have reassignment surgery, listen, when you're not turning a male's reproductive organs into a female's, right? They might tell you that, but if you listen to some of their stories, right, the ones that regretted what happened to them, it's just an open wound. Yeah, it's not a woman's reproductive organ. It's just an open wound. It leaks. It smells. They have to take all kinds of drugs to stop blood, or to stop the infection from spreading, because it's an open wound. Right? You don't hear that on mainstream media, and the people who are encouraging kids to go through this certainly aren't going to tell them. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.